Guess who's back? Back again. Shady's back. Tell a friend. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back?
I don't know. Who is? Is it me?
Doug and Brandon.
Oh, wild.
Yeah. Hey, guys. What's up?
Hey.
We're back with part 2 of our spicy takes.
Oh.
Wyrd just dropped the second half of the witness keyword.
So spicy.
Or I guess the second half of Damian Ravencroft's
Unbound.
Yeah, the Unbound man. And then they also actually dropped the first look at the master from the storyteller keyword. We had seen the Dian, or I guess story of Rajan before, and so we knew about the story keyword, but this is going to be our first look at an enforcer that they share, as well as Linlai. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Linlai. I think it's going to be Linlai. But I might be wrong.
Yeah. And we're going to chat about that.
Yeah. So it looks like the new Untold Tales box that just got released, or that just got announced, is going to be for Gen Con, which is really cool. We also know that the book is going to come out in October, which is super cool. And they shared with us 2 interesting bits about the new upgrades that they're going to have that are going to be, I guess, changes to the core rules. So we have the Crew Axe, which is relevant to the configuration upgrade. And so basically, anytime we have a Crew X upgrade, that upgrade's automatically added to any crew as long as you have at least one model with that keyword. So we'll talk about the new Enforcer in a moment, but basically if you include her even in a story keyword or even out of keyword in 10 Thunders or any of the witness models, if you have a single witness upgrade, you automatically get the configuration, which is super cool. There's also a bit about double-sided upgrades, which we don't really know anything about, which is going to be neat, but basically they're going to be upgrades that will have 2 different modes, and you can just they're flipped through the game by various effects, but when you start with one, you're going to get to choose either way. So that's pretty cool. So Damian Ravencroft Unbound is effectively the Burns or Damian Ravencroft 2. And I think that it's really, really awesome that we're seeing this new keyword come out with a second master. And I think it goes without saying there's no world that they don't do this for all the new keywords that are coming out in the new book in October, which they also announced today that it's coming out in October.
Yeah, so I think you're right. I think every master from now on, just to keep up with the Joneses, is going to have 2 modes.
Which is so cool.
I think, quite frankly, it's, for me, the biggest reason why it's really awesome is because for a new player, let's say you're trying to get a new player into the game, you can truly tell them, hey, focus on learning this one keyword. The master will have 2 modes of play, and they'll be good in different scenarios.
Yeah.
Because the big downfall of only having access to a single keyword and a single master is, what if they're just not good in a pool?
Right.
But this can make any master at least reasonable in most pools. And I think that that's a really good idea and a good move by them, because it really helps the accessibility of the game in general.
Yeah, it somehow has taken adding more models to make you need to have less models to play the game well.
Yeah, but I actually think that that's a really reasonable move by
it's
them.
very, very cool.
Yeah.
So we see this new version of Damian Ravencroft. Instead of Aspirant, he's now Unbound. So his stats have shifted a little. He's a 6'6", still of movement 5, still size 2. He's gone up in base size. That's pretty neat. So he's on a 40 mil now instead of a 30 mil. And we see a couple of new awesome abilities on the front of his card. Arcane Reservoir for one, which is a pretty wild thing to have on a master, especially a master with 14 health. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, there's very few masters in the game that have that.
We also see his sword, which I had put in the last video, but forgot the name of. It's called Die Thou Unsung, and that is now an ability that's stapled onto him. He doesn't have it in the art, but maybe he will in the model, which lets him treat his like 4-inch attack as having a 2-inch melee. So it's sort of like the ultimate gunfighter situation. And like he has a bunch of cool abilities, right? So he has the repository ability that's his like sort of keyword thing where he gets to add cards to the configuration. He has a 4-inch aura that stops any enemy model from using soul stones or drawing cards.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He has the Spell Eater's redirect magic, where he just completely denies triggers to opponents, any dual opposing.
And it's
model.
an extra big deal because I like to call it the Scorpion get over here move.
Yeah.
So his big thing is he can like Scorpion get over here, chain somebody, pull them in, and he can just stack a ton of injured onto a target really quickly in one activation. And I think a lot of everybody out there will agree that if something has injured stacked on it, it tends to die pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And this guy can hand out injured really, really efficiently because his fast action that pulls you in gives you injured.
Which is an 8-inch 6 willpower duel, so that's like already really good.
And then on top of that, in a single attack, he can hand out 2 additional injured. So for 1 fast action and 1 primary AP, he can hand out 3 injured pretty reliably. And if you get even further down the track, you can use those other AP to just keep bashing away, and you could feasibly have very reasonably 4 injured on a model.
5 even.
Yeah, 4 to 5 injured on a model in a single activation, and then they only have 1 activation, your op, to like save that model, and if they don't, you just kill it with something else.
Yeah, theoretically, right, you hit it with absolute control 3 times with crows in the configuration, so you automatically stable crows on all of your attacks. You just get, if you hit every time, you just get 7 injured. You pull something in, and then it has 7 injured.
That's magical Christmas land.
It sort of is, but it's not actually, because absolute control has the thing that Leviticus has, where he can declare any number of triggers. So if you want to staple in a thing to do either his push ability or resolve blast damage or heal your own models, you get the crow thing in addition if you've put it in the configuration. It's like always active, which is wild.
Yeah, it is crazy.
It sounds really, really, really cool.
I mean, I guess my point is that the floor is still really good.
Oh, for sure.
I see the floor of an activation with this guy as being Scorpion Chain, get over here, pull you in, put 3 to 4 injured on you, and then like that's the floor, and that's a really good floor. I was talking to Sam a little bit about this guy, and he made a good point, is that one of the things he doesn't do amazingly is put himself into position to be in range of that 8-inch. So he kind of needs a little bit of help. And I think this is a model that will really benefit from the rider, the mechanical rider, because the ride with me is really, really strong here. It kind of reminds me of how I like to play Lady Justice 1 with the Pale Rider, where like 100% odds on every turn 1 is he's taking a bus ride 5 inches up the board, which is really more than that because it's like place backwards, place frontwards. And I think he really will benefit from models that will be able to reposition him so he can use the primary components of his AP activation to just schmoggle people.
Yeah, for sure. And his restore the natural order ability is really cool. It ends all conditions on models within a pulse 4, which just needs like a suitless 6 to go off. And a front of a card ability that he has, refraction, lets any friendly witness model
refraction's awesome.
Draw line of sight and range for any non-melee or aura actions from either him or any model with House of the Soul, as long as they're within 8 inches of each other.
Yeah, and you're going to run like Lolith because he has House of the Soul, right?
And
then
so
the little
even
Goblins.
if you get something on Damian that you need to remove, you can just pulse it off of another model. Like you can run in and just shoot him down the board with the rider, bomb off their focus, or God forbid you're playing against Brewmaster or like McMorning or somebody, and you just pulse end all of their poison. Like, holy crap.
Holy shnikes.
Yeah, that's wild.
Shnikes.
Yeah, I really like this version of Damian Ravencroft Unbound. He's
he's pulling some serious Karis 2 energy, but he's got the Scarlet Witch vibe, where Karis has just got like the Jean Grey Phoenix vibe, But I feel like they definitely chilled together. They're definitely homies.
And I think I'm gonna have to drill out his head and get really tiny LEDs to put in his eyes, like for sure, right?
That seems pretty try hard.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Well, and so the other new model that is in the witness keyword is Miamurakami. So she is an enforcer. She's 6 points, which is pretty cheap for an enforcer. She has some cool defensive tech. She has like manipulative for defensive tech. That's pretty good. She has Untold Tale, which lets people. She has Stories from the Red Library, which lets her or a story when they activate, so basically just her, add a tome from your discard pile to the configuration. So that's pretty neat, especially because we've seen a couple of the minions have tome triggers. So just getting another tome in there to sort of stable them on seems fine.
So one of the things that immediately struck me from this model is something that Haku and Landon talk about a lot, where is with the introduction of Malifaux burns, we've seen a really strong influx of really effectively costed enforcers. And I think that that's pretty cool. So they're introducing more unique, like, character-based elements and making them super playable. But, like, none of them seem... Some of them are, very strong. This is a strong model, but it's very points effective.
Yeah.
And I think this model is really, really good, given that it's only 6 points.
Yeah, and like she seems like a neat character. Obviously, we don't know that much about the lore yet. We do know that she used to be a charm warder, and like it's sort of obvious looking at her card, right? Considering her, Jinx ability, she has sort of some cheese stuff going on. And we also know that like Damian has met up with her, I guess, in the Red Library, which is like Malifaux's repository of not only all of their like stories and their lore, but it like physically affects them.
Do you think Damian returns his library books on time?
Or do you think... absolutely not. I think the Spelly, who is it that has the trigger that's like late library book?
Killer late fees.
Oh, Killer late fees.
The Archivist has it, and I think...
I think the Archivist
and this new master has it. I think
does she?
Lynn has...
Nah, does she really?
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
Oh no.
Hold on. Yeah, it's on her. It's on her melee.
No, man. Do you imagine that if like Damian shows up to a party and Lynn is just at that party, she like absolutely the second he walks in the door is like, "Where are your books?"
I like to
now.
I like to think of like sometimes it's like a Jerry Springer episode of like all of the dysfunctional, crazy ass personalities that like Malifaux is inhabited by Malifaux. I think there's some real social nuances to uncover there.
Oh, for sure. And like man, this Damian, he's not going to be able to fucking relax at any parties.
No, he's not chill at all.
But so he met Mia in the Red Library, where he presumably
was returning his books on time.
Was returning his books
in the margins.
Yeah,
there are no scribbles in the margins of Damian's returns.
I'm sure that they understood the like 6-month break while he was just like temporarily a witchling stalker
and totally insane.
Yeah. I guess they met somewhere. We noticed that the Damian Ravencroft aspirant is probably him, although he does have the runic blade. So I guess I don't really understand if that's him before Puzzle Box or if this is after Puzzle Box or what. But yeah, I can't wait to read the lore. That's going to be wild. But Mia, so she has Jinx. That's really good. She has this new action that we haven't seen before called Chi Barrier, which probably isn't good, but it's like the kind of thing that I really like because
it's just like
good. It does weird crap. So it
does weird crap, and if your opponent isn't used to it, they can get blown out.
Yeah. So you target a friendly scheme marker, and then until the end phase, enemy models can't move or move through anywhere within Aura 1 of the scheme marker. So you have about a 2-inch AoE or a couple millimeters, unless they start within it. So you can't lock them down, but it's just like a cool thing. You like parker on it, then like, I don't know, you can't get charged maybe.
Yeah, and then I also
cool.
think that the dream of the Red Chamber, it's like kind of like the ability that Austera and Twiggy have, like not quite as good, where it's just like kind of free card value, and you can manipulate that if you have top of deck manipulation.
Well, the thing we see with this sort of this new keyword, the Red Library, is that what seems to be their common thing is well versed, which is once per turn before they flip a card, you can just look at the top card and pitch it.
Yeah. So you can manipulate your deck. There's built-in deck manipulation, which this synergizes with for good card value.
Absolutely.
And then it's not tested. It's just a fast action. It's straight value.
Yeah. And, if she's not doing that, then you can creep along, which is like, absolutely a valuable tool for any sort of scheme running nonsense, or if you want to, interact.
I think for 6 points, this is an excellent model.
Yeah, I think so as well. She seems very cool.
Yeah, I agree. And also, shout out to Jinx. Jinx is like...
Yeah, and again, we see another way to stack a bunch more injured, and this Jinx has a search trigger.
Yeah, that's like really strong.
Yeah. So I guess the last thing that we see is the new master for the storyteller keyword, or for the Red Library keyword. So Linlai is a Red Library and story. This is her like second version, so like maybe this is more advanced, but it's
I think this is meant to be the killy mode of her.
Yeah. So we see the well-versed ability on the front of the card, which also we saw on Story of Raijin or Fujin. I think it's Raijin. Story of Raijin. And so that's clearly
you forget the Story of Raijin, Brandon?
I know. Well, he has a trigger. He has an ability on the front of his card called Fujin, which makes no sense. But so we see that well-versed is going to be the sort of one of at least the continual things. There's no other things on all three cards beside that, but it's all on that. So she has enemy models within 6 that cheat fate just lose suits to duels, which is sort of wild. We see her being able to just when she activates, pushing her own models up to 2 models within her line of sight, can just push 3, ignoring other models, and that's like massively impactful. And Anywhere, there's no range to it. Anywhere within her line of sight, 2 models just get to push 3, ignoring other models.
I think one of the things that I immediately looked at on her card was confiscated lore.
Oh,
I mean,
sure.
we've seen that on, I think the new Sonya has that, right? The new Sonya Creed has that confiscated lore with like crazy ass triggers on it.
That's a great question. If only we had.
If only Wyrd had developed this excellent mobile application that has an intuitive interface.
In fact,
where when Doug stalls, Brandon can look that up.
No, that would be wild. But it is, in fact,
crazy.
on exactly one other model, which happens to be Sonya Creed Unmasked.
Ho ho ho.
Oh, what a interesting
ho, ho.
interesting that we have this
Ho, ho.
ability on a thing that with a guy.
We should ask Defective Dice about the
Creed.
implications of the lore there.
Oh my gosh, about how Sonya Creed has confiscated lore and now Linlai is confiscating lore. I mean, the super high level overview of the whole story of the Red Library keyword. So this library in Malifaux is sort of where the inhabitants of Malifaux and all of like the sort of the beings that live there have stored either intentionally or passively their like stories and plot. And what the Ten Thunders are trying to do to sort of infiltrate Malifaux on a completely like subconscious and like sort of mystical level is integrate some of their stories into the Library of Malifaux so that they become more like bound and sort of inextricably linked to the plane. And that's what we see the story of Raijin being. So all of the story guys are going to be like Japanese, Chinese, or I guess Vietnamese.
From the Three Kingdoms. Because in the lore of Malifaux, I believe it's Japan, China, and Vietnam are melded into one massive superpower nation state.
Yes.
And I think it's referred to as the Three Kingdoms.
The Three Kingdoms, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely melded. There's definitely no imperialism or colonialism involved at all. They all
if you say
cooperate equally at the table, it's fine.
Listen, that's a whole nother...
Yeah, but so that's what sort of the Red Library is, and I guess Linlai is the person their man on the ground, the one who's there changing the lore, adding the Ten Thunders.
Well, I think at the end of the day, this is like it's very, very hard to evaluate her general power level without being able to see a little bit more mechanics from her.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, she's got some spicy stuff on her card for sure.
But we have to see how it fits into the overall scheme. So I mean, like, it's cool what she does. My perception of this is that it's kind of like how Jezda's 2 mode is meant to be kind of more killy. But she's clearly, in my mind, the way I've always seen when I was reading through this was more of like a utility and schemey master. And maybe that's just a wishful thinking on my part because as a Ten Thunders player, they don't have as many amazing schemey-based masters. And I think that would just be an excellent compliment. And like, gosh darn it, if the other version of this master and also the general keyword composite of story doesn't probably play to that. I bet it does.
And I mean,
because look at the chi barrier. Chi barrier is off of friendly tokens.
Yeah.
Scheme tokens.
Friendly
so I bet you this is probably a keyword that is pretty good at stropping ski markers on people's faces.
I could definitely
or general
see that.
vicinities.
And we see her like Linlai's storycraft ability, right? So she has an action where she gives something adversary story, and then a friendly story model can double tap its well-versed ability, which is very, very cool. But because we see that story of Raijin, the model that was spoiled a couple weeks ago, is a story. Linlai obviously is a story, probably akin to like the Ancestor Retainer thing in Yanlo, but we see Mia not a story. So I think the overall effectiveness of this ability and therefore her card is going to be really, really dependent on
what makes
the story.
Up that.
Are the stories going to be the beaters or the schemers, or is it going to be like sort of the Ancestor Retainer split in Ten Thunders that we already see with Yanlo? And unfortunately, we just have no way of knowing.
It all comes back to that most important scene from Office Space where they're being interviewed when the company's folding down, and the two efficiency overbearers, they look at him and they lean in and they're like, what is it that you say you do here?
Yeah.
I think that's the question we have to ask her.
And really, I think the most importantly, like, who took Linlai's stapler? Did you take her stapler?
Did you take her stapler?
Did you take her stapler?
My stapler.
Her stapler?
My stapler.
She'll burn the company down, Shh.